First aid is kind dissected. One should know. In Buddhism, there are many names of Buddhas. You see, there are many temples now. During the new year, they worship 10,000 Buddhas. In the Tripitaka, there is a sutra called the Sutra of the Names of 10,000 Buddhas. All are names of Buddhas, and it contains over 12,000 Buddha names. Who are those Buddhas? They are all oneself. It is one's own inherent virtue. The virtue of faith. Why are there so many names? The virtue of faith is endless. For example, 10,000 names are countless. It could be hundreds of millions of names. In the modern era, it's boundless and limitless. So all the names of Buddhas are written by oneself. All the names of bodhisattvas are one's cultivated virtues. From cultivation, we reveal our own inherent virtue. So when we recite these bodhisattvas, recite the Dharma, recite experiments, we are reciting ourselves, knowing to protect ourselves, knowing self-love, knowing this. Protecting own Dharma. You bodhisattva of virtue. If your thoughts and views are pure, then you are the bodhisattva of good contemplation. It's not someone else. These bodhisattva names are placed on ourselves. The bodhisattva manifests to express and teach us. Just like I mentioned earlier to everyone, I'll give an example of the Maitreya Bodhisattva and the 4 heavenly kings in the whole of heavenly kings. It's all about oneself, completely applied to oneself. Only by progressing internally can we truly benefit. From this, we can understand that these 16 bodhisattvas are no exception. They also represent our perfect cultivation of virtues. 16 is not just a number. 16 represents completeness. In the exoteric tradition, we often use odd numbers to represent completeness, using stones to represent completeness. In the esoteric tradition, we often use 16 or 21 to represent completeness. Like what is mentioned in the Amitabha Sutra. 100 billion Buddha lands, this is what the exoteric tradition refers to as completeness. As mentioned in the original text. 211. The Buddha's moment is expanded to 21. 200 billion are symbolic meanings. If we see them as mere numbers, then we're mistaken. You won't be able to grasp the essence within. Next, let's look at the Bodhisattva who transforms wealth. Yes. It's between people. Communication is the most important means. Confucius in his teachings, you see, the first is virtue, and the second is speech. Buddha's teachings are no exception. A smoker, good deeds are considered virtuous. The meeting's compilation is about speech. This truly coincides with Confucius's teachings. Eloquence must contain wisdom. Your eloquence is about accumulating merit and virtue, so you won't create negative karma. Without wisdom, it's best not to have eloquence. If you have eloquence but lack true wisdom, the karma created by your eloquence can be significant. Leading people to good paths. However, when spoken, it's not the correct teaching. It confuses people's minds. This crime is serious. All of you can speak. You see, Confucius once briefly held an official position as the Grand Minister of Justice in the state of Lu. When he first took office, he executed Zhao Zhengmao at that time. This is something that would never be considered nowadays. It's not possible now. What crime did Zhao Zhengmao commit, if any? You can't find his faults. So why did Confucius kill him? It's because he was eloquent and deceitful, stirring up trouble everywhere and confusing people's minds. He was so persuasive. Even Confucius couldn't outdo him, so he had no choice but to execute him. It's recorded in history. Confucius and Zhu Xiaojinbao, Zhao Zhengmao's crimes, were having heretical knowledge and views. He was eloquent in debate. So his influence among people affected society as many believed his words. Confucius had no choice but to use such means. So this eloquence, it's very important for each of us. The Sutra of Discourses says it well. In the end times, if someone speaks the Dharma well, they might be killed. It was many years ago. It was probably around 77 or 78. I remember when I first went to Hong Kong to give lectures. Master Chang Huai from Hong Kong told me there was a Christian organization in Hong Kong called Daofeng Mountain. What kind of work did they do? They specifically helped monks. When monks arrived in Hong Kong at that time, they had no support and nowhere to stay, so they hosted them. The hospitality was very generous. They provided meals and accommodation. They took you sightseeing every day, and there was a Buddha hall inside. Hey, look how open-minded they are. A Christian organization with a Buddha hall inside, encouraging you to worship Buddha every day, asking you to read scriptures, treating you exceptionally well. People naturally develop feelings, and after 2 or 3 months, they might think, Christianity is great, Buddhism isn't as good. Buddhist temples don't offer accommodation, and the monks don't pay attention to me. Where else would I find Christians treating me so warmly? Then, they stop reciting scriptures and worshipping Buddha. They end up going underground with them. Hey, many monks have returned to lay life and got involved with them. A paralyzed person told me about this, and I said, that's rare. I said, let's go have a look. So I went to Daofeng Mountain to visit and see. Hey, some monks were already wearing lay clothes, telling me about Christianity, compassion, and universal love, speaking very well. The owner of Daofeng Mountain came to meet me, probably wanting to persuade me too. After I saw it, I said, I really appreciate your work. You've done an excellent job. He seemed a bit taken aback and was stunned. Then I told him that I was genuinely thankful, not pretending. Hey, you managed to persuade these monks to return to lay life and believe in Christianity. I really appreciate you for that. My gratitude is sincere. There's not a hint of insincerity. He was particularly stunned by this, and he asked, why? I said, Buddhism has been passed down for 3,000 years, and within the Buddhist community, there are both good and bad. Christianity, a major world religion, has also been around for nearly 2,000 years by the year 1998. And you can't guarantee that every single member is an elite or a distinguished individual either. There are also some bad elements, and he agreed with me. When I said that within Buddhism, we have these nuisances that we can't clean up ourselves, and you've helped clear them out for us. How could I not thank you? Of course, I thank you. I said your Daofeng mountain is like a ransom station within our Buddhist community. Your few words have shaken our people's resolve. Those without a true heart for the path cannot learn the way. It's great that you've cleared them out to the side. I visited Fenshan, Tatijian. You see, when I look at it this way, we also give back to it. I told it that it did well, and I am very grateful to you. Look at how happy we are, joyfully solving the problem. I told it to think more about it. The people it swayed and collected from were all extortions from the Buddhist community. But none of the essence of the Buddhist community was affected. If he can wake up, he will stop running extortion operations and will no longer persuade monks to return what they have. So if we tell him directly that he has committed many sins, how would he feel about that? He would be very happy, saying, we succeeded, we succeeded. When I analyze it, my analysis is truly not false at all. What you have done has no merit whatsoever. So those who are indeed drawn over there are all people with a strong belief in Buddhism, but they truly lack steadfastness. Their resolve is not firm. They are confused and misguided, and they forget righteousness for profit. These are not good elements. Can you really take them in? So we need to have the wisdom of eloquence. With wisdom, you can see clearly and understand thoroughly. And only then can your words truly be effective. To teach people. Advise people not to stay up too late. Creating bad karma is not advisable. The consequences are unimaginable. With this kind of eloquence, it should be utilized well. Where should it be used? The most excellent place. For this Dharma practice. Focus on dedicated practice and study. It is incredibly excellent. In fact, all Buddhas and Tathagatas, there is not a single Buddha who does not promote this sutra. There is no government that does not discuss this sutra, no government that does not advise people to recite the Buddha's name and seek rebirth in the Pure Land. If we have this ability, why not contribute a bit of brightness for the Buddha? We ourselves also truly receive the blessing of the Buddha's light. This is the true source of wisdom. We must use it wisely. We must study earnestly. The next person is in charge of providing assistance. This is effort indeed. True strength. What was mentioned earlier are all foundational conditions. Just like us learning Buddhism, we've been studying for quite a few years. And we've listened to many sutras. But you need to ask yourself, how is your practice? Have your troubles decreased? Has your wisdom increased? Your thoughts, words, and actions. Have your bad deeds decreased? Have your good deeds increased? These are issues related to practice. So for us who study Buddhism, let's be honest. The practice is not effective. In other words, we study Buddhist teachings and chant Buddha's name every day. Born, no certainty. Without certainty, claiming certainty would be a great lie. That sin leads to the Avachi hell. You see, so truly honest people speak the truth. There's no way around it. Having no certainty means the practice is not effective. The Buddha is here, you see, lending a hand, just leave it to me. Observe, my dwelling. Look at this 9. It can remind you. The Prajnaparamita Sutra, mentioned in the Diamond Sutra, should not be attached to anything, let the mind come. Observing non-abidance means having no place to abide. In the Tang dynasty, the 6th patriarch of Zen, Master Huineng, it was on these 2 lines from the Diamond Sutra. He achieved great enlightenment and everyone believed in him. So, my observation is about observing the world. It's not about asking you to think, right? Once you start thinking, it falls into consciousness and gets messed up. It's not easy to lose the official position. So why is Zen meditation called Achan? It's called investigation. Why isn't it called research? Research. It hasn't left Xingyi City. Which means today we say it hasn't left thinking and imagination. We think a lot. That's considered research. That's using consciousness. Investigation lacks. It's not easy to lose the official position. Not using the mind for a moment is called observation. Using the mind for a moment, then it's not habitual. How about it? It's called not being anxious for strength. This is easy to understand. We first need to understand what the nature of the mind and consciousness is like. What is the function of the mind and consciousness like? Then gradually come to appreciate it. This mind, alaya as well. Evil and wrong seeds. What we're talking about now is the impression of joy. Our 6 senses come into contact with the 6 realms, leaving a deep impression. And this impression is the function of alaya. How we construct auditory perception is discrimination. Discrimination is mind. Because of discrimination, there is attachment. This is the case. Investigation. Emotions arise. This leads to afflictions, and thus it is supported by experience. It is worth mentioning Monash. By understanding this situation, we can generally comprehend some things. Those who practice Zen meditation, their teachings and how their skills become effective. They don't focus on history, which is also books. They do not discriminate. They support. Studying the scriptures, they neither discriminate nor are they content. Not only do they not discriminate, they are not attached, and they do not leave impressions. This is brilliant. Studying the scriptures is like this, and so is daily life. In dealing with matters and helping others. Towards people, matters, and things, they do not discriminate, they are not attached, and they do not leave traces. Even in dressing and eating. So, perhaps you've heard about Zen, the idea, not just heard, but understood. Jiao Chu's tea. People would visit the monk Jiao Chu to have tea with him. With just this phrase, he enlightened all beings. You don't just go for tea, you really go and hold the teacup and enjoy the tea. Here's a go for tea is telling you, in everyday life, in eating, drinking, and living, do not leave impressions. Do not discriminate. Do not be attached. What isn't Zen? What isn't practice? As long as in all things you do not discriminate, are not attached and do not leave impressions, then you are unattached. The moment you start to discriminate and attach, your mind becomes attached. Being attached is detrimental. When there is attachment, it leads to birth, and when troubles arise, obstacles appear. Being unattached aligns with discovery. Why must it be unattainable? A Buddha is not. It's an unreasonable demand. Because it doesn't correspond to the truth of the facts. It helps to contradict the truth of the facts. This is what we previously discussed as right thinking. Being unattainable is right thinking. Being attainable is not right. The Diamond Sutra explains it well. Look at what the Buddha said. The past cannot be attained. The present mind cannot be attained. The future mind cannot be attained. The three minds cannot be attained. This indicates that the mind capable of attainment cannot be moved. The mind capable of attainment cannot be attained. If you think something false is real, then what is truly real? Then the external realm that you attain. In business, clearly, events arise. You see, even the Buddha's teachings are a matter of conditions. Therefore, we should not settle for the Buddha's teachings. The Buddha's teachings are not the true Dharma. Why should we learn the Buddha's teachings? They are teachings of original arising. On one side is the sacred Dharma. All phenomena that arise from conditions. In their essence, they are empty and unattainable. You see, what is attained cannot be attained. Neither the subject nor the object can be attained. How can you dwell on this? To dwell means to attain. Therefore, your mind should not have any heavy mistakes. Today, regarding all things and all teachings, Buddhism teaches us to be casual. Going with the flow brings freedom. Everything is fine. Having oil is fine. Not having it is also fine. All lead to great freedom. Absolutely not a bit. What's on gain loss? Not a thought of acceptance or rejection. In all things, there is no acceptance, no rejection, no gain, no loss. This is called purity. From this we understand. Attachment is nirvana. Refining one's practice to the utmost leads to the state of great nirvana. In the context of the three studies of discipline, concentration, and wisdom, this belongs to the power of concentration, a deep meditation. Concentration must have wisdom. Without wisdom, this concentration is useless. It doesn't function. Hey, concentration must have wisdom. What is wisdom then? Body and mind. Even when focused, there is non-attachment. This is what is called being wise. True mind and non-attachment are one and the same, not two separate things. If you say that body and mind hinder non-attachment, or non-attachment hinders body and mind, this is the perception of worldly people. This is also a real phenomenon among worldly people. For example, if you say work is too busy, there are too many things, too many social engagements, they hinder my peace of mind. I want to cultivate a peaceful mind by leaving all these things behind, not dealing with anything. Only then can I achieve purity, but being so busy and having a peaceful mind at the same time is too difficult, it's unachievable. You must achieve it. Why does this problem seem like a false problem, an empty illusion? Even when busy, it's still false. Where is the hint? Being unimpeded by the world, unimpeded in all aspects, that is the essence of the Avatamsaka Sutra. A state without obstacles. This kind of company, this kind of benefit, is truly a real benefit. It is completely established in Guan state. Observation. All phenomena in the worldly and transcendental realms. Empty and non-existent, as the Buddha said in the sutras, like a dream, illusion, bubble, or shadow, like dew or lightning. Buddhism teaches us to always observe in this way. This is practicing the observation of non-abiding. If you can constantly observe all phenomena in the world and beyond in this way, you are observing, like the bodhisattvas. Your practice might not be effective. The practice of reciting Buddha's name effectively leads to spiritual insight. And the level of understanding is certainly very high. It is not considered at the lower or middle level. So this is very important, very important. If you have this, the power of practice, the general principles of practice mentioned in the scriptures, you can grasp them. This general principle is purity, equality, and enlightenment. But today, we find it hard to achieve purity and equality. It's about worrying over gains and losses. Having a mind concerned with gain and loss, a mind of acceptance and rejection, and even more serious issues, the mind of greed, anger, ignorance, and arrogance, and even worse, the mind of jealousy. This is terrible. This is the greatest obstacle in our practice and study in this life. You see, in the past, we spent 4 months here discussing the Diamond Sutra, and those recordings are still circulating. Why did we discuss this sutra? It's really because we observed that many fellow practitioners of chanting Buddha's name were not making progress and couldn't let go. So we discussed the Diamond Sutra to help everyone see through and find direction. We hope that our practice of chanting Buddha's name can be successful. If we can't achieve unwavering mind, we should reach a level our practice is consistent. We aim to be reborn in the Pure Land together. This is achievable. Then the help from the Diamond Sutra is significant for us. Within the contemplation of the bodhisattvas, there is a deeper meaning. Non-attachment must be understood. What if there is no non-attachment in body and mind? This is when the world-honored one rebuked the 2 types of people falling into pit of nirvana. They can only benefit themselves, not others. Only benefiting oneself and not others. Isn't that okay? That's quite an achievement. That's right, but everyone must understand. If you don't benefit others, your inherent virtue cannot be complete. In other words, you must be mindful. You must integrate your true mind with non-attachment, not separate them into 2. If you separate them, you only achieve half of the realization. It will definitely not be complete. So you must apply yourself. Look at it this way. Let's take the Avatamsaka Sutra as an example. In the Avatamsaka Sutra, these bodhisattvas, even those of the lowest rank,